On this video, had a customer contact me wanting a butcher block end grain cutting board. I've never made one, but I was willing to give it a try. First mistake I made, because I've already started working on it, was I just planed down the boards and get them smooth. Can't do that. All these pieces have to be the same thickness. Now, where I've already cut these down to roughly size, I can't run these back through the planer, so they're all wasted. But what I'm going to do, I got a stack of boards. I'm going to start planing them down to 3/4. That way they're all even, and then we're going to cut them. So these were just out of whack, and they still got fibers on the end. I haven't sanded them or nothing, but you can see, well, I don't know if you can see or not by that angle, but I can fit my finger down through this hole right here because this board is stuck on this side and it's hitting this board right here, so it's not going to slide in that little hole. So, and then, you know, we're all out of whack from then on out. So what I'm going to do, these are basically trash. I hate it, but it happens. I might find something to do with them. But we got a stack of boards and we're going to make a new cutting board. Let's get started.
As all these boards were rough lumber, I went through and squared up one end, then took it over to my table saw and cut it down to 6 inches, as my joiner is only a 6-inch joiner. That way I could joint the face and then plane. I took all the boards down to 3/4 of an inch, that way they were all symmetrical and it would not give any issues when gluing them up. I once again joined one end of each board as I was cutting them down to 5 inches and 3 inches. And as you can see with cutting these boards, there's dust flying up. My dust port on my table saw was clogged up, and I didn't even think nothing about it till after the fact. Once all the boards were planed and cut to the width, I went through and cut them, all of them, 2.5 inches long, as well. I still need room to plane down to the 2-inch mark.
Alright, so I got somewhat of a pattern. I'll try to hold that up. I don't know if you can tell the pattern in there or not. I went 5-inch, 3-inch, and it's going to be 5-inch, 3-inch. But just keep rotating like that to keep a nice pattern. But I went through the 3-inch that I cut, which wasn't a lot. I know this. I've got like a few stacks of the 5-inch over here. I'm gonna need a lot more wood. We're gonna do the same process over and over, so I'm not gonna film it because you've already seen it, so why film it? Also in that last clip, you've probably seen a lot of dust come out of my table saw. My dust chute was clogged. I cleaned it out. It's part of it. I won't say part of the game, but it ain't really a game, but it's part of it. But this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have to do it in 2 blocks of like a 10 by 20 due to my table saw not being 20 inches wide, which, you know, they're like 3 or 4 grand. So my little 12-inch or 13-inch will work just fine. So I'm going to, I'm gonna have to work some more wood, and then we'll be ready to glue up. So I'm gonna get to it. All right, after what felt like a week, which is actually just a couple of days, I'm ready to start gluing this butcher block together. Now, I went with a 3-inch and a 5-inch pattern, just rotating between the two. And after it's all said and done, I kind of wish I went with a 3/4 then 5, just to give it more depth, more, I won't say description, but that just don't make a lick of sense. So what I'm fixing to do here is we're going to use Type Bond 3 because it's has a longer use time, and it's waterproof, so my customer can clean this and not have to worry about it coming apart or anything. And we're going to clamp it up. Now I've had to make some rigging, as you see here, and a couple pieces for the ends to be able to clamp this up and get it tight. Now I'm only able to do one side at a time, or one end at a time, because yes, it in the end it will be 20 inches wide. My planer holds 13 inches, so I'm doing so much of this one, get it dry, then I'm gonna go ahead and do the other one. That way I can get this clamped, and while the other one's drying, I'll be running it in the planer, and I'll probably actually let it dry overnight tonight, and then clamp the other one, or glue the other one up first thing in the morning, and then do the same. That way, by at least probably after dinner or something, we'll be able to run it through and get the whole thing glued up. So that is the goal. So yeah, I'm gonna get the gluing. It could take a while. All right, that took a lot longer than I thought it would. But that's a little over half actually. It's 20 inches. I think that's 12. Yeah, that's about 12 inches, give or take. So I'm gonna let this dry overnight, and then do the other one in the morning. So while we're planing this, and that could be drying, this is going to end up being 2 inches thick, so all said and done. So that's a huge plus, I think, for the overall thickness, the girth, the size. You don't want it that big and real thin to be easy to warp. So that big, 2 inches thick, is end grain. So once we get the I don't know why I keep using my hands. It's end grain. So once we get the butcher block, the cutting board oil on it, oh man, it's gonna be absolutely gorgeous. So we're gonna let this set overnight, and then we're gonna work it in the morning.
Getting this big old chunk of walnut through this table saw proved to be a difficult challenge, but to keep everything good, straight and square. But it was very nice finish once it was completed, and was worth it. After I got that first side nice and straight, I set my fence up on 20 inches and cut all them excess fingers off, as you always want to make it longer than what your finish is. That way you ain't got to worry about keeping it good and straight as you glue it up. My customer wanted a G-screw, so I got my plunger router set up with the fence at 1 inch center, put a 1/2 inch oval bit in it, and went to town with it. Using the same setup in my plunger router, I set it up and made a handle on 2 of the sides. That way it was easier to grip. Now I marked center and then went 4 inches from each side. I also made sure I used a coloring pencil on this walnut. It's a little trick. You can't see a pencil like a regular pencil mark, but coloring pencils you can. And there's that pencil right there. I've used red and yellow, pink. It don't matter as long as you can see it. It's just a trick on walnut. I learned that yes, you can see it, but you can't see a regular pencil. But I went through. I measured from the other side what it was from each side, and I marked this one going that way. And once the handles were cut, I went ahead and made sure I just kind of test them out. They seemed good. Then I got my trim router and I went through with a 1/4 inch round over and went across all sides, top and bottom, and the actual corners there. So make sure everything was good and smooth.
Now, just like any other cutting board, I put these little rubber feet on it, and that's mostly to protect the bottom of the cutting board as well as your countertop. Just wood on wood, just in case there is a splinter or something. Not wood on wood, but sometimes wood on wood, sometimes wood on granite. It all depends on how your kitchen is. So we're putting these rubber feet on there, just like I do every single cutting board the same way. That's just anything really sets on the counter, I try to do that. And there's not a rhyme or reason. I'm just trying to get it what looks about the same. Some people that actually measure it out. I ain't fooling with all that. It's the same thing. This cutting board, you can see these grips I made. That was customer's request, as well as the G-screw I put on it. That was customer's request. I am going to brand it just like I do, like I said, every cutting board. And think about what I brand it. I use a propane torch to heat my branding iron. I'll brand it, and then I'll let it cool a little bit, and I'll take my sander with the 220 pad and just kind of lightly go over it. And all that extra like brand, it don't really soak into the wood. It just sits on top. That just the extra heat that comes out of it, and taking that sander over it, it just gets rid of all that, and it looks a whole lot cleaner. So like I said, I'll show you the G-screw before I get done. G-screw goes around the sides. It's all lined up, goes around like that. So that's popular with cutting boards, especially these bigger ones, more expensive ones. They're thicker. That's a lot of mine are 3/4 thin. They're your basic bottom line cutting boards is how I make them. This right here is more expensive, bigger, deeper. A lot of work went into this. A lot of wood actually went into making this for the in-grain look. So there's that. I think that's all. This is 100% walnut, all walnut, and you can still see. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not. Yeah, you can. There's still different variations. This is still all walnut. It all depends on how the tree, the tree grew, not how the tree grew, but how the different, like sapwood, heartwood, you know, in between how the wood actually grew and the color that the tree produced. This is, I'm sure, several different trees created the boards and made this. But if you like this video and you want to see more, I appreciate you giving me a subscription, like this video, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Questions, comments, I read them all. May not respond, but I do read them all. I have a website now. It is, I put the link in the description. You know, check it out. You know, it's your basic run-of-the-mill website, but check it out. I really appreciate it. And I'm gonna finish this up. So it's gonna take, I usually do 2 coats of mineral oil on cutting boards. Where this is thicker, I'm gonna do 3. Make sure it soaks in the wood good. I'm pretty sure that's what it actually calls for. But y'all have a good one. God bless.